911. What's the address of the emergency?
Yeah, actually, I'm on Axtell Gateway Road. I'm headed to the hospital. My husband's not doing well.
Later in the day, about 5 o'clock, when the whole, closer to the event, we tried to saddle up a couple horses and go for what we call a river ride. And my horse, for some reason, didn't want to go. He'd been freshly shod, but at the same time, and I just said, Peg, let's just not go. So we went into the house, and I'm a big baseball fan, so Sunday night baseball, grill up a couple burgers and watch Sunday night baseball. Well, just about the start of the game, I said to Peg, I don't feel good from here to here. And so I have an arrhythmia, and so she took my pulse, and my pulse was beating fine, and yet I was really starting to feel I feel kind of weird.
And I went, geez, let's just go into the hospital, and, it's just a data point. He goes, no, I don't want to deal with all the EKG stuff, and it's hard getting him into the hospital. And so I felt his pulse, and it felt really good and strong. I mean, not fast, not an arrhythmia. And I felt like, I've seen this before, and he kind of said, well, I'm feeling better. I said, okay, walked back into the kitchen, and I think it had to have been within 30 seconds. He goes, nope, let's go.
We got in the Suburban and took off down our dirt road, and halfway to 191, it's about 3 miles, mile and a half down the road, I had my heart attack.
He kind of got sick, and it wasn't a lot, but I could see it. And I immediately reached for my phone to dial 911. I just thought, okay, this is too many symptoms coming together here, I need help. And I didn't really realize he was having a major heart attack when I was first talking to the dispatcher.
Is he awake? Is he conscious?
No, he's not. His eyes are closed. His lip is drooped.
Okay.
He's sitting next to me. He's not doing very well.
Listen to me so I can get you some help. Is he breathing?
Yeah, I think he is breathing.
Okay.
Honey?
Peggy, listen to me, please, so I can help you. I need you to pull over in a safe spot and check if he's breathing.
I looked over at Peg. She got on the phone, and I could see that, she was pretty frantic. And then I went down. We got to 191, where she had made arrangements with the dispatcher to there happened to be a fire truck coming back from Four Corners, and the Gateway fire truck on a Sunday night from apparently a car fire. And so I think that was a great thing that wouldn't be normally happening, but that it was. And they got to me in time, pulled me out of the car, cut my clothes off, and did what they had to do.
When we were paged, we were driving back from another scene, and we were traveling down 191, and we got paged to Axtell Anthony and 191 for a cardiac arrest. We had just passed the street Axtell Anthony, and so we pulled a U-turn on the highway and pulled into the street. And at that time, there was a Suburban pulling up to the intersection.
We didn't have a chance to actually discuss what was going on. Sometimes we like to get a plan going. So what happened was we just went into emergency mode, and two of us grabbed the patient, put him on the blanket, and began our interventions of CPR, applying the AD pads and the airway. And from that point, we continued CPR. The AED advised to shock twice while we were on scene. So we shocked the patient twice, and we would possibly get a little flutter back as far as the heart rate, and then nothing else. So we continued CPR, continued bagging.
Kevin was working compressions, and I took over the responsibility of establishing an airway and maintaining that airway. So I inserted a nasal airway and obtained the bag valve mask and began bag valve masking the patient.
We arrived on scene, and Gallatin Gateway Fire Department was already doing CPR with an AED attached, and the patient was actually packaged and ready to transport.
Leo and I switched roles. He was doing compressions and I was doing airway, and we switched to go, so I would do compressions because it's physically exhausting. And in order to keep the compressions deep and rapid and strong enough, we need to be fresh. If you get too tired, your quality of CPR deteriorates. And we continued all the way into the hospital with those rolls, continued to do EKGs that Mike was doing, the ALS interventions, got to the hospital, and the patient had some rhythm by the time we got back, as we were pulling into the hospital, literally.
Then the EMS guys transferred me, I believe, to an ambulance and took me to the hospital. I believe they put a stent in me and told Peg that I had a 1.5% chance of living, and if I made it, that I'd probably have some brain damage because I'd been out for a while.
Dr. Erb was highly concerned. He said that, you know, while the heart's fixed, we have a stent put in the place of the blockage, the heart's going fine. That's not our concern anymore, but we still have tremendous doubt as to how well the brain survived this hypoxic event. He spoke with the ambulance team and everybody involved and tried to get a timeline for how long Gordon's heart wasn't beating, and he had to go through compressions. And it added up to 30 minutes or more. And it was very concerning to him, and so he really did not give me a lot of hope.
Then they put me in a coma for a couple of days. Bozeman's, I understand, only 20% of the hospitals in the country that actually do that procedure. And that's what they feel prevented me from having any more brain damage.
After 24 hours, they weaned him off both of the sedatives, and I'll never forget the gentleman nurse coming and getting me at 5 o'clock that morning going, Peg, he woke me up, and he was, not outgoing. He was very, quiet and did his job very well, but he was very excited. He said, we think we see some response in the eye. I had to tell you that. And it was like, wow, this is, I mean, every minute went by and it was like, when is he gonna wake up? What's it gonna be, And so this gave me a huge ray of hope.
I came out of the coma after a couple and a half days, and everything came back. I have some memory issues of things even before the event, but everything has pretty much come back in terms of my memory.
I think the most common thing between people who have survived cardiac arrest through CPR is the early detection of cardiac arrest combined with early CPR, early activation of the EMS system, and then quick defibrillation and getting them to definitive care immediately. In our case, this happened all very quickly and all very effectively.
The most important thing to remember is it's not so much about breathing and compressions and how many times in a minute to do it. Just do rapid compressions, 100 beats per minute, deep and fast. That will save lives.
Empower yourself to handle situations like this. It's so easy. I know the courses that are going to be offered for bystander CPR are going to be not a long time to get a tremendous amount of knowledge that can save a life. And you just don't know how it feels when it's your loved one, even if it's a stranger, but it can be your loved one, and just do it. Get out there and know this and empower yourself, and it could make the difference someday.
It doesn't take much time out of one's life to save another's.